one little one thing you mentioned, I this is a different topic, but the question of breathing, um,
Mm-hmm.
the way I the way breathing works is um, air when you ex your ribs expand and your diaphragm drops.
Mm-hmm.
Your diaphragm is this big muscle across more or less the middle of your torso. And
Right.
when it's in its rest position, it's sort of dome shaped.
Mm-hmm.
You familiar with that
Yeah.
from, yeah. And so that's its resting place. So when it lowers, that's when it's in its active phase, and that happens at the same time that the ribs expand, and that creates a vacuum
Mm.
which air flows. And then when you're ready for to use that air to sing or speak, um, it's you have a full component of air, of fresh air in you
Mm-hmm.
that gets expended as you sing or speak, and then you need to begin again. And the idea of asking someone to take a deep breath is maybe not the best idea. It's a little akin to stand up straight,
Mm-hmm.
um, in the sense that you could, if someone says to me, take a deep breath right now, I can do that and I can get a certain amount of air in, but
Mm-hmm.
there's some old air hanging out in there that it would be a lot
Yeah.
better if I could let go.
Yeah.
And so maybe, when a doctor says, take a deep breath, what they should really say is let all the air out and then
Mm-hmm.
just allow air to come.
Yeah.
And that might
I
be
do
good for
break it down and
singers.
teach. I do actually do teach it that way. But in
Uh-huh.
a quick moment, one instruction like that slow breakdown is very similar to what you just described, but then I still say in that one direction real quick, all right, now take a deep breath, inferring like as I have trained you, but I could still find a better way to say it.
Or if you don't want to get into the weeds about in breath and out breath,
Yeah.
because most of the time you're not going to want to be in the weeds about that. That's something that's
No.
designed to function on its own without you intervening. You can intervene for sure.
Yeah.
It's an
Hmm.
unusual function in that respect. It'll take care of itself, but you could jump in there and change things. But instead of, if you don't feel like it's appropriate to go into a whole thing about how air comes in and goes out, I'm free to breathe, or my breathing is free.
Hmm. Yeah, that's better.
Or even I'm free, which
Hmm.
covers everything, or any of
Yeah.
the other directions. I'm not thinking, any of those will get at that via your unconscious brain,
Mm.
which is probably a better, I would think in general, a somewhat better way to go, because why clutter your conscious brain with stuff that your unconscious brain can do and probably do more holistically? Because
Hmm.
saying, well, okay, I'm going to expel air and then let air come in. Well, I'm micromanaging, and I can do that, and it's better to do that than to say take a deep breath. But
Yeah.
really, better yet, why not just let the whole thing take care of itself by using a
Hmm.
direction to make sure that what what I mean, the unconscious mind, if you say to it, "Hey, I'd like my breathing to be free,"
Yeah.
if it's detecting any non-free aspects, it'll take care of it.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
good.
but sometimes, I mean, sometimes like in a doctor's office, it's a funny thing because you kind of wish you could tell them not to do that, not to say that, but you don't really want to get into that whole thing when you're there for whatever reason you're seeing the doctor, you know?
Yeah, you're like, actually.
Yeah, and it works well enough for what they're after. They're wanting to see the cycle of your breathing, that there's not
Mhm.
some abnormality. So it's
Mhm.
not the worst thing to tell people, but it's not a really ideal thing to tell people.
Yeah. That makes
So
sense.
that's just an aside, really, that again, it's like whatever the activity is, including ones that are capable of going on in their own without you even thinking about them. Adding a direction, it's kind of like a little icing on the cake. It just makes it a little smoother, a little lighter.
Yes, it
Um,
really does. And I've learned that. That's something that at the beginning I was like, does it really? Okay, I'm going to take your word for it. But now I feel like I'm at the point where I'm like, yes, it does.
but you've learned how to experiment to test it.
Hmm. Hmm.
And we had those clogs out there for a while so you could hear your footfalls. A really
Yep.
useful tool at the beginning, not something you want to devote yourself fully from now on in. But yeah, that I think it's really important that you have the ability to test any of these directions,
Hmm.
even if you maybe only do it once a year or something. You know you can do it whenever you want to.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been really
So
helpful.
I had another thought, but it seems to have, oh, so even other functions in your body, like your circulatory system,
Yeah.
you could think, you could have a thought, my circulatory system's free, or my heart's beating freely, or whatever. I
Oh,
want to explore that. Um, the unconscious, because I mean, that's definitely a job for your unconscious mind. Um, yeah. No,
wow.
no reason not to explore that. And then here's another little thing to explore, maybe before our next session. Uh, this is kind of an odd direction, and some people react differently to it. So if you don't like it, don't do it. But you could even use a direction. Well, let's take the gross example might be, I'm not trying to be me. I'm not trying to be me. But you could leave out the trying and you could just say, I'm not being me and see what happens.
Hmm.
Now, yeah, I would just play with that. That's kind of a new idea. Um, again,
Okay.
it's a way of, because you may be doing some things that at some level are things you have been taught are the right things for you to do, but they may not
Hmm.
be quite as relevant as you think. You,
Hmm.
they might, it might be because your unconscious mind is not going to mess with you and make things worse. I mean,
Hmm.
it's not, if you say, I'm not being me, it's not going to turn you into Dracula.
No, and I think I see that it's not trying to change who you are because you're dissatisfied with
You're
who
not,
you are, not
yeah.
even a little. It's simply you might discover that there are some things that you have habitually created that you do simply because they think that's just what I do. But if
Well,
you
yeah,
try
because
something with the
as
direction,
kids, you're told to do certain things,
hmm.
be a certain way, but it could be that your version of of trying to follow that instruction is a little off,
Hmm.
and it could go unnoticed for decades. And
Yeah.
maybe there's some stuff you don't need, and if in fact you are perfectly you right now, nothing will happen.
That's
You,
true.
you would notice no change. And that would be, I imagine if your cat were to think, I'm not being a cat right now, if you could actually get it to do that,
Would be awesome.
nothing would happen and they'd wonder why you even thought of such a crazy idea. Might have less respect for you.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Anyway, so those are a couple of things to play with.
Okay.
And I think that's enough for today. That's
We
a
did a lot
we
today.
did a lot today, but it was I think it was useful. I think it was very
Me too.
useful. And
Me
one
too.
other thing you might see if you have some opportunities to explore since you are teaching kids is see if you can detect when you might explore using a nonsense direction to go back to whatever habits you had, and then see what happens when you bring a self-direction to bear and we'll say why you're talking to them or showing them something, and just be a
Okay.
little curious to see if you can notice any change.
Okay.
Might be better if you're teaching and you realize, I haven't really been thinking about self-direction, so I think I'll just bring one to bear gently in the
Okay.
background and just be a little curious about the student's response to that. Because
Okay.
they're getting a lot of cues from watching you. I mean,
All right.
they're watching you all the time, and
Mhm.
so it just be an interesting experiment to make.
Okay. All
So
right.
I'm going to stop the recording.
Sounds good.